Okay, so finally loaded up. It is about 5:30 a.m. here. Call time is at 7:30, and it takes, Google says 35 minutes, but I know from experience it's closer to 50 once you factor in traffic and everything. So figured why not get a early start at it. So it's pretty much, the same as what we left yesterday. Just threw the generator up in there and plenty of room. It's not even close to full, but I think it'll do just fine for us. So let's go ahead, hit the road. So here's a little breakdown of how I pack this cart out. It's just a standard Rubbermaid cart. I did add better tires on it, so it's a little bit more all-terrain, but we have the Evoque with the ballast, the cables for it, and then the reflector dishes. So this whole Evoque system is self-contained here, which is nice. I dig that. I like how small Nanlux keeps their stuff in comparison to some of the other brands. It's just a lot easier for operators like me who work out of a small van. I'm able to get more of their stuff in mine. So anywho, and then the 4K head, they typically, I guess some of them are stored like this. Some of these LTM heads, this does not have a lamp in it. It doesn't have a globe, so it will require being lamped when we get to the location. And then on the bottom, you have two 50-foot head cables, the adapter to baits, and then the baits cable, 100-foot baits. And then down here we have the ballast, Power Gems ballast, and then the lenses. And then the last piece are the scrims. So I've got the scrims right there. So yeah, that's that cart. It's kind of the bigger heads, if you will. If I ever get a call for 2 4Ks, I'll put them both on here, And this is just kind of my bigger light head cart. And so that's how I typically run it. While there wasn't a scout day on this shoot, I find a really good resource you can use a lot of the time is Google Maps. So a lot of times they'll have this street view, which I'll play through here. So that's what I did on this one, and I just recorded it while I was at it. And I knew that we were going to be, just from speaking to the producers and the director and the DP, we were going to be in this back lot little area. They were not closing this location down for us. It was one of the newer locations in Springdale, Arkansas. What I'm doing here is I'm just scoping out the back, trying to figure out a good parking spot for me and also where to stage the generator. So as I pause it here, I decided early on I was going to stage the generator right here. If I go back here just a bit, I could tell I could probably make it to around this portion of the drive. So somewhere around here is where my baits cable would end. And then that was where I would drop my ballast. And then I could just run header cable. Since again, we were going to be using the 4K. I kind of wanted to, that's something you want to be, if you're going to use a bigger lamp like that, anything bigger than like an M18 or something, anything that's going to require generator power, you want to try to plan that out as best you can. And so that's what I was doing here. So just scouting out a parking spot, scouting out where I could drop the generator, and also scouting out the where the sun was going to hit too. So this photo was taken midday. It looks like afternoon time, 2-3 p.m. And so you can see the shadow side is right here. As it turned out, the sun rose over in this direction. So we kind of lucked out as we come around this side again. We kind of lucked out in the fact that the location that we were shooting was basically all shaded for the first 2 or 3 hours. And so that was a conversation that I had with the DP and with the director. So again, we were shooting back here. We all knew of this, and we're having less and less scout days these days. People are wanting to utilize resources like this more and more, which is totally fine.
you're going off pictures sometimes, you're going off, it's not anybody in particular, basically all the productions that I do, the commercials and stuff, I usually do not have a scout day, which is generally okay. You just walk in on the day and figure it out. The DP or the director is going to have a pretty good idea what to do, and as long as they can relay that to you effectively, I find that you can properly and adequately plan the day. So as we go through here, let's look. So this is a quick little video I shot on the day. This was after we got everything set up. As a lot of you might know, the first hour or hour and a half is a lot of the times, pretty much all the time I would say, the most involved. So you're rushing to get everything set up. On this shoot in particular, I think it was just me and another person, and so it was quite a bit for us to set up. You can see we have, if I zoom in here, we have the 4K on a turtle base stand, and that's shooting up into an ultra bounce. This was a plan from the beginning. We wanted kind of a nice soft key light, and it's very hard to do that with a lower powered unit. You really do need something that's a little bit larger. Honestly, I would have loved to have two 4Ks or even a larger lamp like a 6K PAR and M90, but we just wanted to stick with the units that I had. We didn't want to sub rent anything. You'll also notice that in addition to all this GAC we have, we also had to remove the fence here, and so that was one of the first things we had to do on the day. So my buddy Hunter here, he was setting everything up, and I was helping one of the producers actually. We kind of lucked out. It was just bolts that went down into this concrete, but they were very easy to take out. I had a socket wrench, I had a crescent wrench, and all the necessary tools. So, if you are hired for G&E, even if you're not getting hired for all your kit, you should have some kind of tools to make you dangerous with this kind of thing, because you really don't ever know what you're going to come up with. I mean, I've seen some grips that come to set, they bring their whole toolkit, essentially. They bring a whole socket set, they bring screw gun, some screws, batteries, chargers, and everything like that. And you never know when this kind of stuff is going to happen. It's just it always pays to be prepared with your clients. You always want to be a yes man with your clients. Can we do this? Yes, we can. Give me 5 minutes, and I can make that happen for you. That's always the outlook that I like to have. You can see we have the Evoke here. We have it chopped with 2 flags. I don't really remember why. I think this was, actually I do. So this was for the wide shot. We ended up losing these when we went into the close-up of the food. But for the wide shot, we didn't want the hard light of the Evoke hitting the actors and actresses directly in the face. You'll see it a little bit later as we move on. You can also see we have 2 shiny boards working, and that's more for background work. And a couple stands staged over here. We figured we were going to fly an overhead, which later on we did as the sun came over the top of that building. Here's a angle from one of the shiny boards. Shiny boards are amazing as long as you have nice blue skies, which we did. Here's a 720B. This is highlighting a little portion of something in the background, probably somebody in the background. We have camera staged here. And we've also tied the frame down. So this is nothing crazy. This is just an 8x8 Ultra Bounce, but you do want to make sure, it was somewhat windy that day, and you do want to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. That would be a worst case scenario. If frames start flying away, that's obviously a safety concern, in addition to it makes you look pretty bad to the whole crew. Of course you always want to be safe. Just for the biggest reason, of course, is that safety it should be your primary concern, but also, even if something falls down and doesn't hurt somebody, that still doesn't look good on you. This was the run of cable, so you can see we have the Bates cable. Like I said, this location was not closed down, and we were just running it back to this Predator generator. Yep, there you go. And that was a pretty simple Bates to twist lock adapter that I made up a little bit ago. Then we moved on to this. So we were trying to take out some of the wind. The director was requesting that we try to take out some wind, and that's what these floppies are. Well, the floppies were kind of two-purpose, I guess. We were taking off the direct sun. but we ended up doing, I think, 1 or 2 more floppies. And we almost had to build a 12 by 12 double net to take off some of this wind. So this is kind of when we were going more into the food specific section. So, you know, we're on longer lenses now. And instead of, you can see now we've moved from shooting the 4K up into the ultra bounce. Because the sun is now overhead, we're having to shake things up a little bit, which was expected. So we expected that, and so we were able to pivot pretty quickly. We had the 4K blasting directly right at the food. You can't really see it very well, and I apologize for that, but the food is right there. So you can see the 4K blasting down over this lady's shoulder. And yeah, the food, the loaded fries, which was a promotion that Slim Chickens was doing, was right here. We also had the 720B still going in the background. We had the shiny board still going. So this was Camera Video Village. The camera assistant brought, I've worked with this guy before. His name's Craig Wynn. He's a great guy, great AC. He's the biggest AC, I would say, in the state. And he always brings canopies or umbrellas, which is nice. It kind of helps out G&E. You know, we don't have to use a whole lot of hardware doing floppies and stuff like that. You know, that sucks up sandbags quite a bit. You can see we strung up some duvetine. Again, that was to help with wind. It was a very windy day. We had another flag here, and I think we eventually did bring in another floppy or two. Again, just to try to knock down the wind. With food, the name of the game is hard light, is the thing that I've learned in the last couple of years. Is it's hard light. You don't really need soft. I mean, maybe you need a soft light as a general key, you know, just to illuminate it. But with food, you know, you're doing backlights, you're doing side lights, you're doing anything you can to make this stuff glisten. So, you know, anything you can do to make that happen, they're over the moon about. So yeah, here was our staging area. We had a couple C-stands staged. We were using the Dana Dolly a little bit. I'm gonna stop it right here. Now we were moving on to a couple little spotlights with a few people. I think it would, if my memory serves me correctly, it was a little vignettes of people and what they look for in good French fries. So we were flying this 12 by 12 frame, again, tying it down. I'm probably going to do a video all in itself of how to tie down frames properly, because it is a very important thing. It's a very important skill that you do need to know how to do. This was the Claw, so you can get these from theclaw.com. These are, in my opinion, the best way to tie down frames, provided you have a soft surface. So, you know, obviously they wouldn't work on asphalt or concrete. With that, you would need some pitons. Or spikes to drive in the ground. But if you have soft ground, these are amazing. I'm going to do a video specifically on these because they leave such tiny holes, but at the same time, because of the design of it, it's almost impossible to pull this thing up. I mean, you can stand over top of this and yank on it, yank on it, yank on it, and it is not going to come up. You actually have to pop each stake out individually, and then the claw will come up. But because of that, it is a rock solid solution for tying frames down. Again, you just want to do everything you can to keep these things down safely. This was a 12 by 12. This was highlight, a 12 by 12 highlight. And we also, just while we're here, we had another combo stand that was just biting it on the back end as well. I don't love doing this sometimes because it just gets in people's way, but we definitely needed it on this day. We definitely did. So Justin, our camera operator, was sitting here the whole time, just on a box, on our poor DP. He was baking under this thing the whole time, and he also had a 4K directly off, to his side. That 4K was going through a frame of 250 or 216, if I'm not mistaken. We had to double bite this thing because it was flopping in the wind so much. And we also had to put some bungees on it to try to silence it. In hindsight, I probably would have just done like a half grid or a full grid, but that's what we ended up doing. You can see here's a video. Oh yes, and we had a 720B spotted in on Our Lady as a backlight. And you can see the bungee there. That's a bungee with a little styrofoam cup from the store, if I'm not mistaken. Our key grip, Hunter ran and grabbed that to try to silence it. But that was our key light, nothing too crazy there.
All right, so wrapped up day one. It was a great day. Tomorrow we are not using the 4K, so all this gack can go away. We are going to be using the Evoke, and then I'm packing this cart as well. Some Nanlite stuff, a couple P600s, a light mat, and there's a couple things like this crate of rigging. Some people were asking about this, so it's just the way that you attach a light to speed rail. So that just, if I can do it one-handed, maybe not. Okay, yeah, that just closes down over the speed rail. You tighten it down. This is a junior. Somewhere, yeah, there's a baby. So you can just, for baby stuff, you can just use the Cardellini if you don't have any of these, but this is a little bit safer because it totally clasps over the pipe. But so there's this crate. I'm gonna bring a crate of wedges, and other than that, it's gonna be about the same loadout, about the same package. I am going, since the 4K is not playing tomorrow, I'm going to remove the wind-up stand since that's not playing. So I'll replace this with another one of these overhead stands. But yeah, it should be a pretty fun day tomorrow.
So this was our second day. We were at the Slim Chicken's office, and they were actually in the final stages, the final processes of moving out of this office. So this was probably the last time something is ever going to be filmed here, which I thought was kind of cool. But again, I scouted this one a little bit on Google Maps the day before, just trying to find a parking spot. This one wasn't as important because we weren't running any generators or anything. We were really inside. Mostly. So this setup is sort of similar to what we had done in one of the other videos, except in this case, we had a very low ceiling, which was kind of a bummer. Not the end of the world, so we couldn't do our triangle truss, but we really didn't need to. We ended up just using one piece of pipe. And I'm actually going to skip to one of these. So we ended up just using one piece of pipe and one light because the setup in this one as compared to the last one, if you all remember that one in the last video, or in one of the previous videos where we were doing Slim Chicken stuff, we just needed one light here instead of the two overhead. With that other setup, that was a much bigger setup. You were lighting multiple people. This was a fairly small setup. And so we just mounted a Nova P600C with a softbox over top. I can't remember if we used the grid. I think we probably did, if I had to guess. But just going into the setup, we had an Evoke going through a Cucaloris for the background. I'll get into that in just a second. This is just another angle. So we had a 300D right here, which was not mine, going up into a mirror. And that, again, we were just pounding this thing with a bunch of hard light. This was the background, so this is the Evoke going through the Cucaloris. The Cucaloris is obviously inside, the Evoke is obviously outside. We had a 300B Mark II with a little Fresnel, and we were just kind of picking out points in the background to highlight. We also had a Nova P600C, and to control it real well, we had a flag right here in addition to the softbox and egg crate, really just to light up the background. We were really tight, if you can't already tell, on our lenses. We were probably like 75 and up as far as focal length is concerned. This is the 720B with a spotlight lens. I believe this was 19 degree. So it's up here. This is our Nova, again, just lighting up the background. We were playing a little bit with color contrast as well. And this is highlighting the food, which is right here. So again, we're hunting for those edges, those hard beams of light on food that really make stuff glisten a lot more than if you're using a bunch of soft sources. Usually, like I said, it's fine to key the food with a nice soft source. But with food, that's the thing I've learned, I would say in the last couple of years, is just hard light. Shooting things into mirrors, and bouncing it back at the food. This is my usual setup. I unfortunately do not have a CRLS system, so I do still stick with these mirrors. They do the job well, but you don't get the flexibility and control that the CRLS does. Nonetheless, they do work. So I ping 300s and 60s and stuff like that into those all the time for slashes on the background. In this case, I was just using it for a bit more control. of the hard beam. Right here you can see I was using my iPad. This is before I was using DMX stuff, so this was early this year. And last thing we have is this is packing up. So this is kind of interesting, again, these were all cubicles. I'm assuming at one point or another, these were all filled with employees that were making phone calls and whatnot. But so we had a lot of staging area here. We had racks and empty cubicles and all this kind of stuff to roll all our carts in. And yeah, that was the end of our second shoot day. So like I said, 2-day Slim Chicken shoot. I love these kind of shoots. They're so much fun. And you do learn things on them as well. And just being with really good people too. I mean, the people that are on these are just awesome. They're world class. I really do believe that. This is me the day after my wife snapped this picture of me and my son. We were cleaning out the van and I was rewrapping all my ropes. Comes with the territory. But thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. I love seeing the questions. I love seeing the feedback. I love answering questions. Anything I can do to help, just let me know. And with that being said, have a good day.